All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Ivan Oberon's Money Matters. This is Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific, and it is July 24th already, for those of you keeping track. And we're having an awesome summer already. You know, lots of fun time with the kids and going camping and every excuse that we need to go to the beach, which is one of the benefits, I guess, of living near the coast here in Southern California. And we're excited. We're excited for everything that's going on. We have 6 webinars now every single week, and we're looking to fill that seventh spot just so that we can say we have 7 webinars every week to give you guys lots of valuable free resources and information and ways to plug in to many different learning opportunities for you. And tonight we have a special guest, and we're going to go over what we're going to call Why Atlanta and market due diligence with Ronika Motley. And the reason that I wanted to go over this tonight is because Atlanta is one of the markets that we are presently in. We're doing some rehab projects out there. And a lot of people have the desire or the need, in some cases, to invest outside of their own market. And Atlanta is kind of a central location, but it's a different market than a lot of people are in. And so we're going to talk about how to judge the market, why Atlanta, what's good about Atlanta, what is there, how to do your due diligence, how to do your market analysis and affordability and all that kind of stuff when you're not only looking at Atlanta, but when you're looking at any market, because you can use these techniques in any market that you want. We're also going to be talking or letting Ronika, who's one of our power realtors out there in Atlanta, go over all those details and why we're trusting her to help us market and get our property sold. Ronika is a licensed real estate agent over at Metro Brokers, and she's worked in market research, property management for residential and commercial applications. And she got her master's degree in business administration with a focus in marketing and international business from Clark Atlanta University. She's studying in Beijing, and I mean she's just an all-around well-rounded individual. I think you're really going to enjoy what she has to say and present today, and why she's such a go-getter. And this is the type of realtor and power team member that you guys want on your side. So without further ado, how are you doing, Ronika? And welcome.
I am doing well. Thank you for having me, Ivan.
My pleasure. So what are we going to be talking about tonight?
We are going to be talking about the Atlanta market. Let me get into the presentation. We're going to be talking about education as far as Atlanta, the actual market, how it's set up, the development of the city, as well as new projects that the city has going on that are very exciting for the city of Atlanta.
Okay. Then with that, let me go ahead and change my screen over to you, and you'll have an opportunity to accept, and then we'll be able to get plugged into what you got going on over there.
Perfect. Can you see the screen?
Let me see here. Yes, I can.
Perfect. Oh, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Definitely, if you have any questions as I'm going along, make sure that you let us know what the questions are, and I definitely will pause and answer those questions to the best of my ability. Once again, as Ivan said, I am Ronika Motley. I am a realtor in Georgia, a licensed real estate agent in Georgia. I'm just going to go ahead and dive in. We've already gone through my education. I want to basically talk about the market overview for Atlanta. Now, the thing to pay attention to on this screen are the numbers in blue. As you can see, everyone's always talking about, is the market coming back? Is the market coming back? Well, yes, it is. And these numbers prove it.
Now, why is that important?
June 2004.
Now, I'm going to give you a hard time.
It's important because this actually.
Yeah, so don't worry.
That's okay.
We're gonna make this conversational, so I might trip you up a little bit here, but I think again we'll keep it fun, and that's an important point. Like why are people concerned about that? What do I care if the market's coming back or not? Isn't it just about my numbers?
Well, there's several reasons why you care about why the market is coming back. As on a national average, which we're going to dive into, inventory for houses being listed is low. And the reason why is because people are really leery. They're still leery about putting their houses on the market. If you bought your house, let's say in 2004, 2005,
Hmm.
in some areas, you're still not getting that value that you paid for in 2004 and 2005 if
Hmm.
you put it on the market right now. So
Well,
the
I
numbers
bought mine in
going up, and
2007, so that's pretty bad, right?
well, it's different in every market. It's different in
Yes.
every market. Yeah, it's different in every market. Um, but yeah, for Atlanta, we've been having a tremendous amount of growth. Month to date, the sales for detached meaning single family houses.
Hmm.
Attached means like condos and townhomes. For detached, we had sales for June of 272 versus 246 a year ago. So
Okay.
that's an increase of 10%, which is really good. And for condos and townhomes, we had an increase of 7%.
Okay.
Uh, so year to date, going to the residential detached average sales, it's 248, and then for the attached, it's 190. So as you can see, plus 10%, plus 7%, plus 11%, and on and on. We are definitely seeing growth in this area, and I'm going to dive into that a little bit later as to why.
Now, is that mean that I can feel a little bit more comfortable with having a conservative ARV if I'm going to flip a house, for example? Can I expect that if I look at these numbers and I know that my project, after permitting and everything else, it's going to take me 4 or 5 months to put this thing back on the market. Now, can I expect that maybe my pricing is going to maybe go up in that amount of time, or do I still need to worry about maybe my numbers will drop because the properties will sell for less during that time?
No, in this market in particular, I don't foresee that happening. And there's reasons why, and they center around the projects that we're going to dive into.
Okay.
I would project that a few months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, we're going to see positive numbers for this particular market.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and those are some big numbers there too. I mean, a $272,000 average sales price in Atlanta. That's a pretty nice home.
Yeah, well, that's actually the average, and that takes in all of the homes. You know, Atlanta's a very big area. If
Yeah,
you've
it's
ever been here, you
huge.
would know that it's
Yeah,
very
it was crazy when we planned our trip out there. I had never been before we held our field trip out there and went searching for houses and I realized that it's like the largest metro area in the United States. So
yeah,
there's
it's
so many
really big.
markets within the Atlanta market.
Atlanta proper is definitely big. But let me move on so that we can get into the exciting stuff.
Okay.
We're going to talk about market comparisons, okay? And this is we were just touching on this just a second ago. The national market for 2014, the average sale month to date is 223. Now for Georgia is 143. Atlanta is 233. So Atlanta as a market is higher than the national average as well as Georgia for the month of June.
Okay.
Okay? That's very important to add to what we're talking about this particular market and the growth of the Atlanta market.
Yeah.
Now, speaking about the market health, is this the time to invest? Is this the time to actually hold on to your property? This gives you some perspective of the market health. Distressed properties a year ago made up 68% of the market. Now they're at 20%. That's very
Wow.
significant. That's very significant. Short sales and foreclosures have been going on for probably significantly for the last 5 years. Last year they were over 50% of the market. Now they're down to 30%. So it's really hard right now to find some foreclosures
Hmm.
in the
Hey,
Atlanta market.
Ronika, not to throw you off, but on my screen at least, your slide is a little bit cut off. I'm not
Is it?
I'm not sure if anybody else is having that issue on their end, but I can't see below the distressed properties on the bottom side the percentages. I'm not sure if there's a way you can adjust that or not. And if not, that's fine. But I just wanted to let you know.
Okay. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if I can adjust it. I just have the full screen on my end. Does
Okay.
everyone else have that problem?
Yeah, it looks like we got somebody else having the same thing here. But we'll be fine though. Don't let that stop you. If it's not an easy fix, then
Okay.
don't worry about it.
Okay. And then moving on to the days on market, which is actually what I'm going to be concentrating on the bulk of the presentation.
Hmm.
78 days on market, it has been the lowest in 20 years, and that's very significant for this market as
Now
well.
now you're saying that's the average.
Yes, that's the average.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's been the lowest in 20 years. So this slide in particular kind of feeds to what I was saying in terms of the market growth,
Hmm.
as well as reasons why you should definitely pay attention to this particular market in terms of investment properties.
Okay.
Okay, can you see this screen fully?
Not fully, but mostly.
Oh no.
It cuts off a little bit on the right and on the bottom. Yeah.
Oh no. Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Now, what we could
Maybe I
do,
should do a PDF maybe with that.
what we could do is maybe I can. Well, let's just keep going. I was gonna say I can pull it up on my end, and then you can tell me when to move. But um, yeah, doing it. Maybe if you pull your PowerPoint up and to the left a little bit of your screen.
Do you see it better now?
There we go. Now I can see all the bottom, but now I just can't see the all of the right side.
Okay.
It's
Well,
technology. It's okay.
it's okay. We'll just run with it because the basic reason that you guys are here is for the information, and I can
That's
give you
right.
the. Okay, so this is taken from the National Association of Realtors. You'll see on the right of the screen, there are
There you go.
various cells.
Perfect.
Yeah, in for the United States, there's various cells. It's broken down for West, Midwest, Northeast, and the South. And for these are sales averages. For the South, the median price for a home to be sold in the month of June was 192.6.
Hmm.
That's in the South. Now, keep in mind what I just told you about the month of June for Atlanta. It was in over 200,000. So
Right.
we're above average for the South in general. Okay.
Hmm.
And the national median for homes in general for the month of June, we'll see here, was 223, which I mentioned earlier. So those are just things to keep into perspective when you're looking at this market.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to move into now educating you about Atlanta. As
All
we
right.
just talked about, Ivan, Atlanta is humongous.
Yeah.
Atlanta proper consists of a lot of small little cities. And basically, I put this in here because this is very important. When I first moved here, I actually got lost on this highway. You'll see that there's Interstate 285. It goes in a circle. Now, this is very important to the infrastructure of the city because most people who are here for business,
Hmm.
they want to be close to that interstate because this particular interstate was built to connect various cities in a circle.
Okay.
20 goes left to right, what is that, east to west, and then 75 goes north to south.
Hmm.
But Interstate 285 is in a circle, so it's very important to keep that in mind as well. Okay.
Now, since you said that about business, isn't Atlanta one of the major relocation spots in the United States right now?
It is. We have a lot of Fortune 500 companies here. The biggest industry that is booming in Atlanta right now is the film industry. We have a lot of film studios popping up
Hmm.
left and right.
Interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we're going to talk about marketable areas in Atlanta. Can you see this screen fully?
Everything except for past Marietta.
Okay, we'll work with that. So these are all marketable areas in Atlanta. Now, you might ask the question, how and why are they marketable? There's
Hmm.
various reasons. Off the cuff, no matter where you are, usually when you have neighborhoods that are in areas that have restaurants, shopping, near the interstate, there's a lot going on. Those areas are marketable. Great school districts, that's marketable. One thing to really focus on in this particular market is the school district.
Hmm.
Atlantans are very particular about their school districts. They want Cobb County, they want Gwinnett, they want Fulton County for school districts. That, if you're looking for investment properties, you want to definitely research that. Let that be a priority. In
Okay.
terms of Roswell, the reason why Roswell is on here is because the days on market are 20. Now, this is
Okay.
just the average, okay? This is the average year to date. So that lets me know that there are not a lot of houses listed, and as soon as they're listed, they're snatched right up.
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
when we were there, we were seeing a lot of that. Some of our comps, and in places like Sandy Springs and even East Point, where we're at right now, just pretty low days on market.
exactly, exactly. And keep in mind, as I mentioned before, these all six of these neighborhoods are below the national average of 78. 78 is the average for days on market. These range
Hmm.
between 20 all the way up to 64.
Yeah, yeah, and 78. From a rehabber's perspective, for people on the call or listening to the podcast that might be interested in flipping houses, 78's not a real attractive day on market. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, but
exactly.
being that that's the average, now you're combining a lot of different types of properties that are being sold, not just people that are coming in and flipping houses in these specific areas. And you have a lot of areas, a lot of markets in these all these sub markets that are going to be below 40 days.
It's so funny that you say that. That's a great point. I feel that these numbers might be, not these particular numbers, but for the national average, might be a little skewed because if you know this, in general, construction is up significantly throughout the country.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not a lot of inventory, that means you build more houses. However, a lot of agents don't necessarily put the houses on the market right when you have the floor plan. That's something that a lot of agents do here in Atlanta. As soon as we get the floor plan and we know what
Ah,
the house is going to look like, we are putting it on MLS. We're
that's
not
true.
waiting for you to break ground. We're marketing the house
Yeah,
heads up.
you guys are
Yeah, we're marketing the
pre-marketing.
house right away.
So yeah, that's one practice that a lot of people don't do is the pre-market, and there's pros and cons to it, I would say, because in some cases we've done that, and one of the things that's a benefit, of course, is that in some cases you can have that house sold before you even finish it, and in some cases you can get the homeowner really involved, and they can even pick some of their finishes. In other cases, it's going to be a negative because if you don't find a buyer, then of course that bumps up your cumulative days on market, and people looking for a house to buy really look at days on market as a leverage point, because if they see a higher day on market, they're starting to think that those people are going to become more and more desperate, and they're going to want to be stronger negotiators. So yeah, it's interesting that you guys have that as a kind of a standard practice, but it must be working for you, I guess.
I think it is. I think it is. So I just wanted to, from an investor standpoint, also have some information about the markets that I am suggesting and recommending. I wanted you to know the rents because on your return, we're averaging between 13 to 15% on your return on your investment. You can see that the rents here are they're really good. At Roswell, 2,000, all the way down to East Point, which is 900. What to note about these areas also, especially East Point. East Point is an area that you get a lot for your money.
Hmm.
There are some great, strong, solid houses there, but the square footage is definitely high. And the further you get away from that circular corridor that I was showing you earlier,
Right.
the more square footage you're going to get for your money.
Hmm.
That's just a rule. Okay?
Sure. And one point that I'll make here as well, Ronika, is it's important to know what the market rates are in a market, even if your primary strategy is not to buy rentals but to flip houses. You never know what can happen, and knowing what the marketability of that property is for an alternative exit strategy is a very good practice to put in your business.
Exactly. Great point. Great point. Let's see here. Now this is, I hope this screen doesn't overwhelm everyone.
Hey, it's got colors and stuff, so that's good.
But I thought this was relevant. Basically, this is an absorption analysis report. This shows you, if you look at the top of the screen, this compartmentalizes the market. You have houses that are between 100 to 149, 150 to 199, and all the way on up to the $1 million range.
Hmm.
Okay, so this is year to date. This is within the last year. How many houses in those particular ranges have sold? And I put those areas that I highly market on here as well. Now, I split the screen up between what's below 500,000, which is what you're going to see in the red,
Mm-hmm.
and what's above 500,000, and that's what you see in the green. And I've highlighted the lowest days on market and where those homes are. For
Hmm.
example, you'll see in Roswell, the lowest days on market are in the inventory of 250 and 299.
Okay.
Houses that are listing for that price are only on market between 26 and 32 days. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's really significant. And the difference between average days on market and total days on market is the day that you actually get a contract on the property and to the day that you close. So that
Okay.
those are the two distinctions. Okay.
Yeah, and this is a great
One.
report.
Thank
It
you.
really
Thank
is.
you.
Can anybody do this? Because I haven't actually seen a realtor put one of these reports together before.
Well, this is the thing about real estate. We have access to a lot of information. It's about just putting it all together and making it make sense for our consumer, our client. And that's what I did because I think that for me, education is very important when it
Sure.
comes to investing.
Yeah. Well,
And I
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was just gonna say, like, if we didn't have some of these guys everybody muted, I would ask them, like, don't you think this is an important slide, an
Yeah,
important report for you to, especially if you haven't gotten doing anything yet, started doing anything yet, if you're looking to go into a different market, or if you're just trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do for the next 6 months? Getting this report, it'll show you what price points you might want to be in. Whether you have the
exactly.
money of it or not, it might show, okay, well, my these are the properties that are really selling. These are the price points that people are really going after right now, getting funding for, getting conventional lending, whatever it is, and they're selling. And so
Exactly.
that's a very powerful bit of information.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, definitely. Always ask for an absorption report just to see, because obviously this is going to change month to month. But I want to call out, the Area 31, Grant Park East Point. Do you see that?
Hmm.
Only on the market in the 450 to 499 for 2 days. That's the average.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, it was just two sales, but still.
But they move fast.
Yeah, so then we're going to move to the next slide. This just covers the remaining of the market. And you're seeing, obviously, here, just as I said before, they're averaging about 40 to 60 in terms of days on market. But I thought this would be really important for everyone to see just what's going on and,
Yeah, and
in
of
this.
course the number of sales is pretty important.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Great.
Okay, so I'm going to dive right into what I'm really excited about. The two projects that are driving the city. And, if I'm not clear about this, because there's a lot of information, like I said, definitely stop me, ask questions. The first project is the Atlanta Beltline. Are you familiar with the Atlanta Beltline, Ivan?
Not very much. So this
Okay.
this will be good education for me too.
Okay. Well, to get more information, obviously you're going to go to beltline.org, but I'm going to start you off just by telling you some information about this particular endeavor and project for the city. This is an investor's dream right here. Basically, the Atlanta Beltline has been going on for quite some time now. This is an area, a 22-mile corridor around the city. It consists of public parks, trails, transportation. The idea, as I told you before about Interstate 285,
Hmm.
Interstate 285 was a circle around the city, basically connecting all the various suburbs, if you will, of Atlanta,
Right.
so that you would have ease, it wouldn't take you so long to get to from point A to point B. Well, instead of making this such a car type city, they're now incorporating railroads. They're incorporating trails where you're going to actually have major walkways. They want people to actually get out and see the beauty of Atlanta.
Hmm.
So this is called the Atlanta Beltline. Now, the reason why this is an investor's dream is because houses along the Atlanta Beltline are like definitely staggering in prices, and there's some hidden gems that we can dive into, and I'll show those to you a little bit later,
Okay.
that are projected to significantly increase in value. Okay, so this just gives you a visual representation around, that's the Atlanta Beltline. I don't know if you can,
Yeah.
this is the Atlanta Beltline right here.
All the red.
Yes, all the red.
Very cool.
This is a bit about, okay? So pay attention to the zip codes that I have in red. There's a reason why. Now, 30313 and 30314, that is where the current Georgia Dome is, our football stadium for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, we are actually building a new billion-dollar dome, literally right next door. Now, it's in the zip code of 30313 and 14. Now, why is this important? 30314 has a lot of distressed properties. We are projected to launch this new stadium in 2017. And this area is supposed to change dramatically. There's supposed to be, there's rumors, I won't confirm everything because obviously this is still in the works, but there's rumors that there's going to be retail. There's going to be the whole landscape of Northside Drive, which is where the dome is, like all up down here, is going to be lots of landscaping, just beautiful. Now, this area over here, these values are going to jump up tremendously in the next 3 years. And right now, these values are significantly low. In terms of property taxes, you might pay between $200 a year on property taxes. It's an extremely distressed area, okay? So that's one key gem that I want you to pay attention to. The second is the 30315 area right here. Now, this is currently where Turner Field is located. Now, we just lost that contract. So the Atlanta Braves are actually moving to Marietta, which Marietta is over here somewhere, okay? So they're moving over there. So we have currently 4 real estate developers who are trying to make this space a new retail space. So that's big because once again, just like this area, 30315 is full of distressed properties. So yeah, that's the current state right now.
Yeah, and if they're making new retail space, well, people like to shop and people like to be close to amenities. So that's a good point. And they can get out there and get in shape on the Beltline.
Okay. Exactly.
Right?
Does anyone have any questions right now? Am I going too fast? Does anyone have any questions?
I think you're going at a good pace. But if you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand and I can unmute you or type your question in the bar right there. And it looks like Scott Travis has joined us, Ronika. So look, you even brought him out tonight.
Hi, Mr. Travis. Okay, I'm going to move along. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this. This is basically what the new stadium is going to look like, just to give you some perspective of the sleek area.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Uh-oh, hold on right here. You can see right here just the front of the stadium. Yeah, it looks really, really nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where they're going to charge for $15 beers, right?
More like 20. I'm kidding.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's $1 billion stadium. Come on.
Yeah, they got to get it back somehow.
Okay. So I wanted just to let you know what's going on around the stadium, just to give you some perspective of how marketable this area is. You have, within 5 miles of the stadium, the World of Coca-Cola, the Georgia Aquarium, which is one of the largest aquariums in the country, Phillips Arena, which is our concert arena, as well as it's literally 2 minutes away from the interstate. And Georgia World Congress is right next to the stadium, as well as a slew of Fortune 500 companies, because this is, I'd say, about 1 minute to 2 minutes away from downtown Atlanta. Okay. So this just gives you some perspective on this area right here and these properties, okay, in the near future.
And what kind of properties are we finding there? I'm sorry. I guess you're gonna go into that. Never mind.
I'm glad that you asked that question. Right next door to the Georgia Dome currently is an area called Castleberry Hill. Castleberry Hill is actually where I live. It's mostly lofts and townhomes and condos. This is zoned both commercially and residentially. Now, the interesting thing about Castleberry Hill, it's a big variance in terms of the homes. I have $1 million homes in my area, but then I have homes that are going for 99,000, and it's literally less than a mile.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a big variance. It reminds me a lot. I'm originally from New York, but it reminds me a lot of like just the New York style type townhomes and
Sure.
condos, lofts. Yeah, it's really nice. It's a big city attraction for shooting films over here, and this is right next to the Georgia Dome currently. You literally can see the dome outside your window.
Yeah,
Okay, so
and
that's
that's for us California people. I mean, that would be like a if you don't know somebody on the ground that knows what they're doing, that could be a comping nightmare, because you have a $99,000 house and then you got a $2 million house 3 blocks away. Like
exactly.
that doesn't really happen here.
Yeah.
We're pretty well segregated, so if it's within a mile, it's usually pretty decent comp, but that just doesn't happen in the Midwest.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. So I'm going to show you some pictures of properties in Castleberry Hill, just so that you have some perspective. At the top, you see a condo for 89,000, and these are in real time, folks. I literally pulled these yesterday.
Okay.
So these are active properties. And then you go to the bottom of the screen on Nelson, which is right outside my door. You have a property for 524 with panoramic views of the city.
Mm-hmm.
So that just shows you some perspective of the type of properties in the Castleberry Hill area. Now, this area, 30313, was just east, right here. It was just east of the
Turner.
dome. Actually,
Okay.
southeast of the dome.
Mm-hmm.
This is a distressed area, and this is Castleberry Hill. I just wanted to make sure that you understood that. So then 30314 is Vine City. That's the area that I was mentioning that is extremely distressed. This is zoned residential. The median price of the homes is 55,000. You can have a range as low as 5,000 or as high as 200,000. Okay. Average rents in this area are 1205. This is a mixture of townhomes, single, and multifamily homes. You can find some really large houses in the Vine City area. And this is
It amazes me that a person can buy a house for $5,000.
oh, you're about,
I just don't get that at all. I don't
I
care
know.
how distressed it is. It's just like, really? That's just crazy.
Yeah. Now, a big marketing attraction for this area is that it's home to the AUC, which consists of Morehouse College, Spelman College, and my alma mater, Clark Atlanta University. Okay?
Okay, so they go back to the schooling.
Yeah, exactly. Once again, adding to the point of an area being marketable. Can you, as soon as you buy it and rehab it, can you actually put it back on the market and it can rent out and have consistent income? And that's definitely universities contribute to that. Okay, so then this actually shows a home for $9,000, and as I mentioned before, as high as $200,000. Just a few in the Vine City area, just so that you can have a frame of reference. Okay.
I think Scott wants the one on Detroit Avenue. Can you get that one inside for him? Just a
Sure.
little vacation home or something.
Sure.
For when
Sure.
Vegas isn't hot enough for him, he needs a little bit more humidity. You can just hop over to Atlanta.
We can make anything happen here. So the last area that I definitely wanted to focus on was 30315. That's the Turnerfield area, known as Summer Hill, Mechanicsville. This is zone residential. The median price of the homes is 97. It's a range between 12,000, once again, huge variance, to 369. And this area is really peculiar to me just because I love it. It reminds me of just an area you're going to see distress, but then you're going to see extremely gorgeous properties. And you can see that obviously by the pricing. But it's a big mixture, but it's a great community. And I'm excited to see what's going to happen, obviously, with these new developers coming in and taking over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Ronika, looks like we have a question. Michael asked a question. Michael, do you have a mic? You want me to unmute you so you can ask it live? Or do you want me to just go ahead and ask it for you? Just raise your hand if you want me to unmute you, and I will. If not, I'll go ahead and ask the question. Okay, so Michael asks, 30315 loses the Braves. What kind of risk would it be to invest there? How long should you wait until you'll be able to see what's going on there as far as comps? And how would you be able to predict what's going to happen in that particular area?
Well, this is the thing. I do, okay, and this goes back to having a real estate agent that's involved in the community. I actually am a member of several neighborhood associations and a few boards in Atlanta. We get this information as far as what's being presented to the mayor's office. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's solid, that we're going to go that route. I've been told that we definitely are going to have this area redeveloped. In terms of the timeline, if I was your real estate agent, I would say keep a close eye on it in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
I think in the next 6 months, we're probably going to be making a decision about what direction we go into. But that doesn't mean to, I say, neglect looking at information. I would start looking at information now just to see what the homes are going for, what type of look you would like in terms of an investment property, what type of area in that zip code. But definitely, one thing that I always tell my clients, when you have an agent, make sure that they're just on top of the trends and that you get newsletters from them to know what's going on in the areas that you're interested in. I hope that answered your question.
Okay. Yeah, and Michael did not have a mic, so yes, he says thank you, and very good. And Scott's wondering if you could put him up in like a fraternity row house or something. That would be good.
We can definitely do that. We can definitely do
All right,
that.
yeah, see, Ronika can hook it up, man. Don't worry about
it. Okay, so these are a few properties in the Summer Hill area. As I said before, we have properties as low as 23,000 over here, as high as 379. You can kind of see the difference in just how the look and feel.
Yeah, the curb appeal is much nicer.
Actually, let me go back. One property that I did want to call out was this one, and I'm assuming this one's not going to be on the market very long. This is a new construction I just pulled yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say that looks like a sketch.
It is, yeah. It's going for 109, which makes me think, I don't have the report in front of me, but it's probably suffering on square footage to be that low.
Yeah, I would think.
And for it to be a new construction, yeah. But yeah, you can just see the diversity of all the homes in this area. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So that concludes my presentation of Atlanta. I hope you've enjoyed everything. As you can see, Atlanta proper is experiencing positive growth, and I hope that you would consider us for your investment, diversifying your portfolios in the future. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Ronika. And I do have, let's go into a little bit, since we still have a little bit of time. You work, I'm sure, with a lot of investors. Now, you're obviously working with a lot of out-of-state investors who are mainly interested in cash flow. Obviously, Atlanta is a very good cash flow market because of the percentages that you can buy and rent properties for. But you also work with local and out-of-state fix and flip guys. So what advice would you give to somebody starting in a new market, looking for a new power team member? How do you develop that trust and know that your agent, who really becomes one of the backbones of your business, is trustworthy and knows what they're talking about as far as what they can tell you? I can sell this house for once you fix it.
I think communication is key. As I mentioned before, an agent that will give you monthly newsletters to let you know and educate you about what's going on in the market. An agent that is really strategic about the direction that she or he sees your business going in terms of your properties. I know for my investors in particular, everyone's very different in terms of what their return that they're looking for is, or if they're trying to hold on. I have a lot of people, especially in the 30313, who purchased a bulk of properties just to hold them, long term, just because they know eventually they're going to turn around. Everyone's very different, but I think the big thing is communication and education. You want to make sure that your real estate agent is a member of neighborhood associations, that they know what's going on in the city. I think that makes a more marketable business to tell you firsthand before it's on the news, Sure. Once it's on the news and, then everyone knows about it. You want to have someone who has the information firsthand that can help you diversify your portfolio and get the highest return possible.
Okay. So if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, I'm just interested in turning my money, how can we work together to flip some houses? Is that
Hmm.
something that you're really going to encourage me to do in that particular market, or what would you do as far as getting somebody's confidence level in you up, knowing that you're the right person?
Present them with facts, like I just did in terms of days on market. If you're a flipper and you're trying to make a quick, let's say 15,000, 10,000, we have strategies for that. If that's the case, then I'm going to show you what I just showed you before, where you're going to see,
Hmm.
okay, well, let's look at this particular, well, if you're flipping, you're probably not going to do 400,000, but let's look at something that's 200,000 or something below that, oh, it's only on the market for a few days. That means that there's low inventory in that area, which means that if you do buy something, let's get it really cheap. Let's try to get something that's been on the market for a while.
Sure.
And I have a team in place of contractors that are amazing. They can make things happen. So we can make this a marketable property and then sell it at market value, and you can definitely within a certain amount of time just get that profit.
Well, and that's another part of my kind of you answered my question is because any good realtor who is experienced at working with investors and fix and flip guys is going to have expanded their personal network to include competent contractors so that they can all work together. Because if the proper team is set in place and everybody understands what their roles and their jobs are, they are all in it for the same reason.
Exactly.
Each part of the team helps every other part of the team make money and do their job effectively. And so if your realtor doesn't have those connections, you might want to find a different realtor because it's all about the connections. It's all about the network. And if they're not serious enough or they haven't been in the business long enough to know people, then that would be a good indicator that you might need to go find somebody else. And no offense to them, just get some more experience and we'll come back to you. So we do have
Exactly.
another question. What about multi units? Are there apartments in those areas, apartment buildings that need to be rehabbed? In distressed areas. How's that commercial side of things looking? Since I know you have experience there too.
Actually, that's that's my favorite part of the business. But I didn't include it in the presentation just because there's so much information.
Sure.
But multifamily homes are a big moneymaker. And if you are looking to have residual income, there's definitely areas in the city that I could recommend some great multifamily homes. College Park being one of them. East Point actually having a few multifamily homes as well.
Hmm.
That you have a really high on your return. So that's a different strategy altogether.
Oh yeah.
But I always say that you should definitely include a multifamily in your portfolio, just because that's going to be residual income. If you can't rent out unit A, you can probably rent out unit B and C and D and F. So you want to make sure that you always have that income, that stream of income coming in.
Right. Yeah, and I know guys too that they flip apartments, and of course that's a whole different strategy because in a lot of cases you're holding these things for a year to 2 years sometimes before you flip them
Hmm.
as you get them occupied because that's one of the ways that you get those things at discounted prices is not necessarily how distressed they are. That becomes a part of it, but part of what makes a multi-unit quote unquote distressed is what the occupancy level is. And so if you're finding something that
Exactly.
is 50% occupied, you have a very good value add play there because you're essentially turning around a business here. Okay, that's the way that you should look at any rental, any cash flow type of endeavor is as a business. And a multi-unit apartment complex is a cash flow business and it's maybe the business isn't doing so well, and one of the ways that you do that is maybe you make some improvements, but then you increase the occupancy, and that's how you turn that business around and then eventually flip it if you want to, but you have to be able to get that value add. So are there some opportunities kind of like that in the Atlanta market?
There are everything that is around the Beltline corridor. Basically is something to look at. If we can find a property that's you can get a lot of value per square footage. Um, you can get more value than you could with something that has less square footage. Those are properties that you want to look at. And I also wanted just to touch on one last thing when we talk
Hmm.
about having trust in your real estate agent, as well as having a strategy in terms of investing, one thing that you always want to pay attention to, especially in this particular market, are taxes.
Yeah.
Taxes eat into your profit, as you know. So when you are looking at properties that I present to you, that your agents present to you, make sure that you're not only looking at the market, the price, rehab costs, the team that you have in place, but that you pay attention to actually the taxes in the area. Taxes can definitely eat into your profit, and you want to find something that's going to have low taxes right now when you're.
Well, and yeah, and are there certain areas? That's some good information to know. There are certain areas in Atlanta where your taxes are going to be double what they are in other areas, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's huge. The same
Yeah.
thing that there's some places here. I was looking for properties because eventually I want to move out of my house, keep this one, but move into something bigger where I can take care of my mom and my mother-in-law and stuff like that. And I was looking at some property with some acreage, and I really liked this particular street. And then I was talking to one of my clients who's also an agricultural realtor. She specializes in that, and she's like, "Well, the thing about this area is," and then she started telling me about the different water districts. And
Mm-hmm.
you go a few streets over, and the price of the water was like 400% more in this particular area. So if you have to irrigate and use your water and stuff like that, now you're talking about $1,000 water bill
Mm-hmm.
versus something that's maybe a couple hundred. So that's huge information that you want to know.
Yes, definitely.
Let's see, another question from Michael. And I'm going to let you take this one as well. How do you determine the demand for rental properties in a particular area? And I think the question really boils down to if cash flow is what I'm after, how do I know what the best cash flow areas are? What are the determining factors in that?
Well, I think when you look at your cash flow, we're talking about return on investment right now. I think that you want to take into account the price that you're paying for the property, the rehab costs, add all of those up, and then see per year how much you're going to be able to get for it in rent. And you can just basically go online and find that out, just to
Sure.
see what the averages are in that particular area, and then divide those on and see what the return is. But you obviously, anytime, just like with the stock market, you want to buy low and hopefully, I don't want to say sell high, that's unethical, but you want to sell at market value. You want to sell at market value. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, let me go a little bit deeper because I don't think that was exactly what was intended with that question.
Oh, okay, I
And
apologize.
because yes, we understand that if we're at a 1% rule or better, meaning that if I buy this thing for $100,000, the thing better rent for at least $1,000, and so
Hmm.
I know that I'm going to have some cash flow there. But I think the question doesn't necessarily mean can I buy this for the right price and get the right amount of money every month for it. I think maybe if you could answer more to the effect of how do I know what areas are going to be best? What areas do people really want to
Oh,
live in?
okay.
How can I keep my vacancies as low as possible because these areas are going to be best for people that want to rent homes?
Okay. If we're talking about this market in particular, I can tell you what is marketable are areas that are near the interstate, areas that have an excellent school district, and I talked about that Gwinnett Cobb
Hmm.
in Fulton, because that's the market trend for Atlanta. People, the first thing they ask me when they're actually trying to buy or sell their home, or excuse me, buy a home, is what's the rating on the school?
Hmm.
So for you renting out a home, if you want to actually have a diverse pot of applicants, you would definitely want to purchase a home in a great school district, near the interstate, near shopping, near a grocery store, very marketable areas. It's you don't want something that's secluded. You don't
Sure.
want something where it's a mile away from your neighbor. That's more of a house to live in for a long time.
Yeah.
That's not something to have as an investment property.
Yeah. Good. So
And
so good accessibility to amenities and good school districts are going to be the main factors.
those are the main factors, yes, with this particular market, yes.
Well, I think that would translate into most markets, right?
You know what?
Good.
I would think so. It sounds good, but I mean, to be honest with you, every market is very different. I mean, for example, I think that Atlanta is very family oriented.
Hmm.
However, when coming from New York, I moved to New York when I was 19. I went there specifically for career. And so in that particular market, if you're talking about overall, they're going to have different wants in terms of their number one priority.
Sure.
But for the South in Atlanta, the number one priority in this market definitely is the school district.
Okay, got it. And Fred asked a question. Wouldn't it make more sense to have Ronika recommend realtors, contractors, etc., for us to work with, rather than starting from scratch? Then feed us properties. And yes, so I'll handle this one, Fred. I think obviously if you want to work this market and you want to work with Ronika, she's who we're working with right now. So of course, we can do stuff, and you would have access to her, and anytime that you're working with her, of course, she would make those recommendations. But if you're looking at different markets, or even farther away areas in Atlanta, she may not be able to recommend anybody in those particular areas or in different markets, because in Atlanta itself is like several different states, and no one realtor can know all those different areas the way that a realtor needs to know an area. I mean, it's just impossible. If somebody tells you they're an expert in every area in Atlanta, well, I'm going to have to say that they're embellishing their skills a little bit, because it's just so difficult to do in such a big and diverse market. Now, they might know other people in those areas, and they can certainly make recommendations, so you don't have to start from scratch. Yes, that's the whole point of this. That's why we bring people to you guys that we work with and that we like, so that you can have a starting point and go from there. And if they're not in a market that you know, or that you like, or that you're in, then you can just use some of the techniques to go out there and find them yourselves, or plug into somebody else in the network. So I hope that answers your question. If not, let me know and we'll go a little bit deeper. Okay. So that was the last question. Anything else, guys? I think we're almost at the top of the hour. Ronika, you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions regarding cash flow, property management, servicing, any kind of sourcing properties, vetting contractors, which might not be Ronika's primary skill, but I'm sure she deals with them, so she can probably give you some stuff. Let's see. Michael just says thank you.
Wonderful.
All right, Ronika, and there's her contact information for those of you listening to the podcast. Her direct line is 646-522-8078, or you can email her at Ronika, that's Ronika .Motley, Motley, at metrobrokers.com. If you need anything, go ahead and reach her there. And then, of course, my email is ivan@cdcrea.com. You can find us on Facebook, and if we're not just yet friends, if you're listening to this podcast, go to our website at cdcrea.com and click on the connect button, and you'll see all of our contact information on there. And remember, guys, become allergic to average. That's what we're all about. We're here to bring you people who kind of follow the same or cut from the same cloth, so to speak. You're allergic to average. You don't want to settle for what everybody else is settling for. You have to have the vision to want more and create more for your lives. And we're here to encourage you guys. We thank you for all the support that you guys give us. And Ronika, thank you for your time. I know it's getting a little bit later there on the East Coast. And actually, here we go. Yeah, does Ronika, do you have I don't even know if we're friends on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? That was another question that I got.
I am on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and I have a website.
Okay.
AtlantaFindMeAHouse.com. And if you go to AtlantaFindMeAHouse.com, in the top right corner, you'll be able to click on all my social media.
Great. And Scott is asking if you could please contact him this week.
Definitely.
He's got some needs that he needs help with.
Okay, we'll take care of you, Scott.
All right, guys. If there's nothing else, enjoy the rest of your night. I'm gonna go have dinner, and go enjoy the rest of your Thirsty Thursday. Take care, guys. And Ronika, we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, thank you, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.